Hello, welcome back to Evil Genius Props, where all Doomsday devices are guaranteed with a money-back guarantee. If the world hasn't ended, you get your money back. Today, we're going to do some woodworking. So I grew out a beard, put on a flannel shirt, and we're going to cut some wood. Now, what are we going to make? Let's be honest, I don't normally make props out of wood. They're heavy, people get hit by them, they sue, it becomes a whole thing. So there is instead a type of furniture design that came out of the late 18th or 1800s, 19th century, into the early 20th, known as campaign furniture. And this was furniture designed by the English to be taken on campaign with you. So if you're uh, in the military in India or South Africa or anywhere else they happen to colonize, uh, you would have this furniture that was designed to be packed up into boxes, put on a ship, and sailed around with you, or put onto a cart and carried around. Ignoring the problems of colonialization, and there are many, it's neat looking furniture, and I really appreciate it, and I feel like it's a good design for themed products in this case. So, what we're going to do is, rather than make a full size campaign chest, which I would like, but Sheila decided that she wants to be able to fit in the bedroom too. Uh, so we're gonna make something smaller. And in this case, what we're gonna do is make a watch box. So we're gonna make a little boxes that are gonna fit on the dresser to hold watches and my wallet, keys, all that kind of stuff. Now, those in this case is going to be small enough to hold some watches and my other stuff. We're basing the designs off of campaign furniture by, who's that by? Christopher Schwartz. I was right. And he went through and did a lot of design elements based on some research he did, and a lot by C. Clark Antiques. We're actually going to put a link to a specific video of theirs below here, where there is a brass bound box. So they didn't have watch boxes during this period. That's not a thing that happened. They didn't have watches, frankly, most of them. And they certainly didn't have enough to necessitate a box for them. So what they would have would be basically dressing boxes, or correspondence boxes. They'd still be small boxes, still made the same way, and usually be brass bound. So that's what we're going to base our design off of. I got some mahogany earlier. We're going to cut that up and make that into our box. And then it's a question of adding some drawers, adding some lids, hinges, all sorts of fun stuff like that to make an appropriately themed box. The idea is to make this watch box that isn't from this period, but fits the design style and looks like it could be. So, with that said, let's go make some sawdust. So what we've got here is my mahogany board laid out. I want my interior dimensions to create a hole, if you will, of 8 inches by 16 inches. So I'm going to cut out my lengths to include the width of the boards. So for 8 inches, I'm going to cut this down to 3/4 of an inch wide for the sides. So we're going to do 9.5. And then the second piece, I'm not going to mark it off right now, but it's going to be 17.5. So we'll have 2 of these, 9.5, and then 2 at 17.5. So I'm going to split this down, this 15/16, that's the size that Rockler sells it in. I'm actually going to split this down to be 3/4. So what I'm going to do is slide this all the way over. And then we'll run this through. It's basically resaw this down to the size that we want, which is just that little bit. And then after that, you can see there's this edge here where it's damaged from where it was bundled. I think that's neat, but I also don't want it on my watch box. So we're going to cut that part off, but we'll get to that part in a minute. Next step is going to be to go through and do this bit. we saw it. So I've got my pieces cut. We're going to do these as dovetails. So there's going to be more sanding coming up, but I just want to still kind of a rough edge on these that I want to clear up a little bit. So we're going to sand these down real quick. Nothing too extreme, just 120 sandpaper just to sort of smooth them out a little bit. Get them nice and even, and then start planning out some dovetails and figure out how to do a cut a drawer. So part of what that did, besides clearing things up, is it made me sort of look very carefully at each side so I can decide which side I want to be which. So like this one's going to be in the back because there's a bit of a saw issue, and that's going to be on the inside. So the back inside's going to be here. So that makes this one's going to be the front, but there's some wood burns. We're going to put that one on that part on the inside. These are going to be our sides. And same thing, the part that I have sort of facing up here, turns out, is going to be our side pieces. Not that kind of side piece, get your mind out of the gutter. But we're going to go ahead and put these, it's going to be roughly like this, except these are going to be dovetailed, so they're going to be inset. So, this is our back, sides. This, there's going to be a piece that goes here about 2 inches down. That's going to be the top part of the drawer. That's going to be the top part altogether, and then the bottom's going to be a pull-out drawer, possibly with a secret. So what I want to figure out is how to cut out this part. I don't want to just cut the entire thing at 2 inches. I kind of just wanted to cut it out this way. So let me think about that and we'll come up with some ideas. All right. I'm not a woodworker per se. I am not an expert on dovetails. I've watched some videos. I know roughly what to do. I'm just not great at it. So if you're watching this to learn how to do dovetails, you've come to the wrong place. If you've come to this to watch someone fail at dovetails, stick around. If you want to learn how to do this, check out somebody like Jonathan Katz-Moses, Matt Esley, somebody who knows what they're doing, not me. But especially since I don't actually have all the same tools that I should to do this well. In this case, what I should do is mark this off with a marking gauge, but I don't have one of those. So what I'm doing instead is marking my height of the boards I'm going to cut. We'll give this a shot. So I'm using a dovetail jig here just to help hold everything in place. So you cut one way, and then we're going to flip it around and cut the other direction. Next step is just do that for the rest of it. So we'll come back and do that in a minute. So the next step is to clean out. When you do that, cut these parts out, you leave some at the bottom, and then you come back in with a chisel and clean those out. somewhat as predicted, I managed to screw up the dovetail process by cutting, I think these are called the pins and the other part are called the tails. And you're supposed to cut the tails first and then use that to lay out the pins. I didn't do that. So what I need to do now is figure out how to transfer the pins onto the board that needs to have the tails. I think I've got that laid out so that it would go like this. I guess like this. So I marked out, it's hard to see, there you go, roughly the tail positions, and I think I can use that then to lay out across the top and then use the jig to cut them down correctly. So we'll try this out. If not, we try something else. All right, let's go ahead and mark out our depth. And mark this out on both sides. Let's flip it around to the other side. We're going to try to transfer these tails to the other side so they're even, because they are not otherwise even. All right, took a lot of work to try to get them together, but there is a very ugly dovetail joint. So we're going to transfer the tails to the other side, which I've already done once, and we're going to cut those out and then use those to lay out the pins on the other side. Fortunate thing is this is in the back, so not really going to be super visible, and really just one of those things that I just need to work on if I'm going to do dovetails. All right, I'll do those other ones and then we'll catch back up. So what I'm doing here is, this is the top part that I cut off. End up having to cut it by hand after I got started, so it's a little bit wavy, so we're going to use the plane here to smooth it out. I don't want to take out too much material, I just want to get it level. Alright, so what I've got here is a also poorly made dovetail board, and the back is down here. I'll put this side right here, and then use that to mark out the tail, or the pins board. This is why I get them confused, because these are the tails, these are the pins. They both seem pretty similar to me, which is why I have issues. Well, that's why I have issues with this anyway. All right, so I'll mark those out with a knife, and then we can use the jig to cut those out again, and then spend half an hour trying to get them to fit. All right, let's make sure I cut off the right part this time, because last time I didn't. Okay, let's try this out. So compared to the first one, this one's a lot closer. There's a little bit I need to clean up on, looks like this pin. clean that up, and then we should be good to go. So actually, before I even did that, I just flipped it over because I had it wrong, and it's a lot closer. Still cleaned it up a little bit, but I'm a lot happier with that than, say, the first one. Just see where it's maybe a little bit tight still, and clean those up. So I think the only thing I need to do is maybe cut down the bottom here on this. Looks like this one is a little bit high, but otherwise that one's pretty successful. I am capable of doing it, just need some practice. As you can see, things work really well. It's supposed to be a box, so these are supposed to be on the same side, not an S. So yeah, so what's going to happen is it's going to get this much shorter, and I'll try again. It happens. As we're learning, we make mistakes. That's how we make better mistakes later on. Okay, recut that one side, and now it looks more like a box. Okay, so what I want to do with the front here to create the tails, to remember this, is I'm going to just use the ones I cut previously and line those up, so this way they're going to be even. So I clamped the two boards together. I'm going to take the square, which is a triangle, and mark those lines. This is actually done better with a knife. Almost screwed that up again, because these boards are still going to be the tail boards, so I need to cut the tails on this side. So what I was able to do, or what I'm going to be able to do, is take the marks I made and transfer them over onto these boards to be the tails, so I could still keep that same spacing that I like, but have it on the correct side. All right, there's the box. I went and actually labeled the corners so I can remember how they go together, because that's important, because they kind of only fit together one way. And there's our drawer front. I said there's our drawer front. Gonna fit in there. Looks like I need to shape it down just a little bit more, as it's not quite fitting there, but we'll take care of that. So normally on a box like this, what I would do for a lid is I would make the whole box and then cut off the top here on a table saw and use that for the lid. That way it fits nicely. You know, it's the match, grain matches, everything's great. But looking at this, particularly with the dovetails, I'm not sure how well that would actually work. So what I'm going to do instead is I cut some other pieces here, and they're going to go right here to serve as the frame for the lid. Now, because this is a watch box and I have some watches that are solar powered, I want to put a pane of glass in the top, so the top is glass. Lets the light in, let the solar powered watches charge. So what I think I'm going to do is kind of just do butt joints on the top here, just because I don't have room to do miters or dovetails, and then cut a channel to put the glass in. So like this piece will take and run a channel along there on the table saw, and then that way I can go and get a pane of glass. I checked, I don't have any big enough, but I can get a pane of glass like this very dirty one here and reset it into that and make the top and glue it up that way with the glass in place. And in some ways, doing it that way will actually make things easier in that the lid will be a separate piece. So I could, for instance, just about glue up the rest of the box and not have to worry about fitting that in. So I need to do a little bit of research. I need to figure out how to do the drawer down here at the bottom. How to make this part fit in here and then sort of ride out. So I need to figure out some sort of runner system for it. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'm going to do a little bit of research on that. But we'll use that as the drawer front. And I'm wondering if I can just sort of have it on the sides. I also went and got some 1/8 inch Baltic birch plywood to serve as the bottom of the drawer. And also what I'm going to do is put this part right here is going to be the bottom of the top tray, and the other piece will go beneath that. Looks like maybe I need to shave that down just a little bit. Got the dovetails fitting a little tighter, and now the drawer front's a little snug. Anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is maybe either just cut a channel in this piece and sort of slide it in, or maybe take some of the offcut pieces and almost build like a tray for it to sit on. So put this here, put ones on the sides, all along the bottom level here, and let those sit. And with the height from the lid, we'll have a little extra room there for the top watches. So I might just do that. But I'll figure it out and we'll keep moving. This is sort of where you get to see my problem solving process live and just working through some of these things. I do have designs in mind. I do have plans, though, as Mike Tyson said, everybody has plans until they get punched in the face. Actually, I think he said punched in the mouth. Anyway, point being, we're gonna keep working this and keep iterating some solutions and get to where we like it. This is the advantage of making your own stuff, is you can sort of change it on the fly as you're going. Also, in my case, this isn't a thing anybody else is going to make. So I went ahead and cut out the bottom of the top tray of the 1/8 inch Baltic ply. Used a jigsaw because it doesn't fit on my bandsaw, and the blade on my table saw is too big for it. It would just do even more damage, so I used the jigsaw. And we'll smooth this out, and I'm also not going to worry too much about it because we're going to cover it with red felt anyway. So I'm just going through now and squaring off the edges and sort of, because I'm not great for woodworking, just a little bit at a time, testing it against the box, just trying to make sure it fits. This is, again, as I say, one of those things, if you actually know how to do woodworking, you're going crazy. In the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the ride as I try and fail and work my way through this a little bit at a time. But that's just how I work. So here's what I'm going to do, is take some of these offcut pieces and put them on the underside. Just going to glue that on there and use that to support the tray piece. So I'm going to go through and just sort of mark where that's going to be. So I think what I'll do, since these are all slightly different sizes because they're just the offcuts, is take one of these longer ones here and just use that and cut that into pieces. And just do here, here, and off on the sides. we're not dealing with any serious weight here. It's a collection of watches and the stuff that lives in my little pocket. Actually, even that's not bad. So I'll see how long these are and then cut these down to length.